Hello everyone, my name is Sheila Bischoff, and today, as I promised, I'm a little bit late, so I apologize. We are going to be talking about the importance of seasonal eating and what foods are most beneficial to eat during the fall season, which we are in right here in the Northeast in the United States. And I would like to also invite you to my upcoming 7-day reset program, which begins on November 1st. So I'm gonna wait a little bit, just a few seconds, and then I'm gonna jump right in. Hi Stacy, I'm so excited. I just created the Facebook group and I'm sending out the material tonight, this evening, probably after this live. Hi Siongi, hi Angela. So I have people from US and Hungary. So let me check. I'm just gonna check my laptop here. Make sure I have what I need. Okay, right here. So, how you guys doing today? You guys having a good Tuesday? Let me put a little bit of Valor oil on me. I had an interview earlier today in Hungarian and it was really fun. If you speak Hungarian, you can probably see it on my wall. Okay, so I have something that I want to read to you guys because I found this fascinating. So let's begin. So seasonal eating. When I was in nutrition school back in 2004 and 5, we had several teachers who talked about the importance of seasonal eating. And I am originally from Hungary, so that was not a new concept to me. Because when I grew up in Hungary, I was a child in the 70s and 80s, right? We could only eat what was in season. So for example, in the wintertime, we never had salad. We didn't have lettuce leaves and tomatoes and peppers. What we would eat is pickled beets, pickled, pickles, or something that looks like kimchi, but it was kind of like Hungarian style. So anything that our parents, mothers, grandmothers, or if you went to the local farmer's market, you could get those things there. When I moved here, when was that? In 1992 is when I came to the United States, and it was winter time, and I went to the store, and it was quite a shock to see watermelon. We also like strawberries, watermelon, peaches, like all kinds of summer fruits in the store. And when I looked at the watermelon, I remember my body was like, ugh. Like I thought about eating watermelon in January when it was snowing outside, and it was like just normally like a reaction that no way, I don't want that. Because I grew up in an environment like that. So in the winter time, we ate mostly root vegetables, right? Squashes, potatoes, anything that, you could keep in sand, or if you had a root cellar. We only had like apples throughout the winter, right? So, but here in the United States, we have such a big variety of fruits and vegetables, and you can get anything at any time of the year. So a lot of people don't think about switching up their diet. As you go from season to season, you go from summer to fall to winter and spring, and we change our clothes, right? We put a sweater on, we put a coat on, a hat and scarves and gloves, and then a winter coat, and then we take it all off. But we should be doing the same thing with the foods that we eat, because seasonal eating is the most supportive way, is the most important thing that you can do to support your health, your overall health and well-being, and specifically the health of your intestines. And we are going from end of summer into fall. We are in fall right now, and it's getting colder here in New Jersey, and then we're gonna go into the winter time, right? So if you think about it, like end of summer is when we eat the most carbohydrates, right? That's when we have an abundance of fruits and vegetables, which is carbs, right? Carbohydrates. And I found a study that I'm going to read to you guys because it is fascinating. So what happens is that the fruits and vegetables in the summertime support the energy of the summer. In the summer, we have long days, right? We are very active, and that's when we eat all these carbohydrate-rich foods. And then as we move into the winter time, and we eat light, right? We don't eat a lot of fat. That's what the body craves. As we move into the fall and the winter and the cold weather, right? We need more fat, more protein, and this is when we, switch to the fruits and veggies that are in season. And there is a reason for it. You guys probably all know that there's certain bacteria in our intestines, right? And if we are eating with the seasons, everything stays in balance. But if we don't pay attention, there will be an imbalance. Also, you will notice in your skin, right? In the summertime, there's a lot of heat. And then as we move into the fall, winter, summer is hot and dry, but also fall and winter becomes very dry too. And if we don't change our diet, we'll dry out. And when there's a mucosa in the intestinal lining, right? And if you are ignoring the seasonal eating, that mucosa will be reactive. Anyone here who has seasonal allergies, you could really benefit from the seasonal eating. So let's look at the different seasons. So in the springtime, right? Spring is very wet, right? It's rainy, it's wet, it's mucousy. So if we eat a lot of mucus-forming foods in the spring, and those are, wheat and a lot of dairy, even soy. So for example, what do children love? They love pizza and pasta and ice cream. Those are all very mucus-forming. So if we are in a mucousy, wet weather season and we eat those foods, you're gonna have tons of mucus, right, in your body. As you move from spring into summertime, summer is very dry and hot. So all that mucus will get dried on and baked onto your intestinal walls, right? And then you move into the fall season and the cold season, and that dried on mucus on your intestinal walls, they're gonna react. And you're gonna have a lot of allergies and you're gonna feel very uncomfortable. So let me read you the study that I found really fascinating. So, in a Stanford University study published in the journal Science, researchers found microbes in members of the Tanzanian Hadza tribe change dramatically with each season, in sync with seasonal dietary changes. The study shows certain microbes in the gut one season may almost disappear the next, suggesting dramatic microbiome changes take place seasonally. Researchers concluded that the Hadza tribe's gut microbes and digestion are cyclical, in sync with the precise biorhythm of nature. In addition to the dramatic microbiome seasonal shifts, the Hadza microbiome is significantly more diverse than a Western cultured microbiome. They carry a powerful stable of gut microbes extremely skilled of breaking down fiber. The Hadza microbiome has more enzymes for breaking down animal-based carbohydrates during the dry season and more enzymes targeting plant-based carbohydrates the wet season. Microbes in the digestive system manufacture enzymes that change seasonally. They do so to help digestion of seasonal foods so well as to boost immunity in winter, decongest the body in spring, and dissipate heat during the long, hot summer. So in the summer, right, we eat high fiber and seasonally changing diet. And then, and these people are actually free of colon cancer, colitis, and Crohn's disease. So basically what this means is that when you change your diet, you are supporting a very healthy microbiome. And a lot of people right now are trying to focus on boosting or supporting their immune system, right? Because it's flu season, which is really not flu season. Yeah, it makes sense, Stacy, right? So there is no such thing as flu season, guys. So we're just going into the cold weather season. And this is a time when you have to make some changes. Just like many people dress differently, although here I notice that people don't really pay attention to that either, because they wear, crop tops, and they never put a scarf on, and they never put socks on, and just in the ballerina shoes. That's just something Eastern Europeans always like roll their eyes at, because we grew up with our grandmothers and mothers always telling us that, put socks on, put a scarf on, put a hat on, cover your kidneys, because you're not going to have a baby if your kidneys are always exposed to the cold. Some of these might be just, these, what's the expression? Might not be true, but I think many of these things are actually true. So it's very important to change how you eat. That's why, a long time ago, even here in the United States, you could only eat what was in season. But that got totally messed up, because now, they can bring fruits and vegetables from other parts of the country up here, so you have it. But how do you tell? How can you figure out what's in season in your area? Two things you can do. You can go to the farmers market, local farmers market, and see what's there from your local farmers. That's one way. Another one is when you go to the grocery store, usually the front of the veggie department is when they're gonna have the seasonal stuff. I shop at Wegmans here in New Jersey, and I always notice that, and they try to do local people, like local farms, so that's in season. And a third option actually is there's a website called localharvest.org, and you can put your state or even your county in there, and it will show you, there's 3 harvest seasons: spring, summer, and then fall, winter is one. And then you can see what's in season where you live. Okay, so I have some more notes, because there's so much that I can talk about here with the seasonal changes. So yes, so when you don't eat with the seasons, as I mentioned earlier, there's this reactive mucosa that can wreak havoc on your health, on your immunity, and definitely, on your respiratory system. Do you guys ever do you ever look and see, like, what do the squirrels carrying with them right now? They are carrying those nuts and seeds, right? And the reason why is because they're preparing for the winter. So the lining, did you guys know that the lungs and the large intestine are connected? So we can look at Ayurveda, we can look at Chinese medicine. If we look at Chinese medicine, each season has usually two main organs that it's associated with, sometimes 3. So the summer was the heart and the small intestine, and then the fall is the lungs and the large intestine. They completely connected, right? So when people's digestive system is off, that will totally affect your respiratory system. So you don't just have to pay attention to support your lungs, you also have to pay attention to supporting your large intestine. And in general, 75% of our immune system lies in the digestive system, right? So everything takes you back to the digestive system. There is a famous saying, right, called all diseases begin in the gut, and it is so true. So what happens is, the end of summer, we become extremely dry, right? And as we move into the winter, that's also dry too. And if you are aging, like I am aging, we also getting dry with the ages. If we look at the seasons, the springtime is more like when you are a young child, and then the summer is when you are in your 20s and 30s, and then the fall, as you age, and the winter when you are much older. And that's why children, the spring season is, I talked about it, it's the season that's very wet and mucousy. If you give children a lot of dairy and wheat and soy and peanuts and things like that, those are very mucus forming foods in the springtime, I guarantee you they're gonna struggle a lot with congestion up here, right, in their lungs, a lot of ear aches. So that's the season when you really wanna limit those foods, right? So let's talk about the cold season. So the cold season in Ayurveda is called the Vata season. And Vata season is cold and dry, windy, right? And this is the time when you want to switch to foods that lubricate your organs, lubricate your intestines, so they're not going to dry out. Because if you let your intestines dry out now, check yourself in the winter time, you're not going to be well. So what lubricates the seeds? Think about the squirrels. They're eating nuts and seeds, right? So nuts and seeds have that kind of fat in them that is really good to keep your intestines lubricated. Think about flax seeds or chia seeds, right? Those are the soluble fiber, and they lubricate and coat and heal that intestinal mucosa. So that is the antidote to the dryness, fats. And it's funny because when I was taking my notes for this little share that I'm doing here on seasonal eating, I'm like, wow, I have like walnuts and pecans on my counter, and every day I'm like popping a few of those into my mouth, and they just feel so good, right? The nuts. And you can take chia seeds, you can take flax seeds, you can take hemp seeds, and just put a little bit. Like when I make my butternut squash soup, which is going to be in the upcoming 7-day cleanse, it's a really, really yummy recipe and yummy soup. I always sprinkle some kind of a nut or seed. Sometimes I toast it on top of it. It's crunchy, tasty, and it will help with that, that lubrication. When the intestinal skin or the respiratory skin becomes dry in the winter, that's when that reactive mucus gets activated. And then when the reactive mucus is activated, that's when a host of undesirable bacteria is going to start to flourish there. And that's what will compromise your immune system. You guys see how important it is to switch out, to change what you eat as we go from summer to winter time. And so this is all ancient wisdom. Chinese medicine, thousands of years old. Ayurveda, right from India, thousands of years old. So it's smart to listen to our ancestors. So my intention for today to kind of help you figure out what you can do now, and then if you get a desire to join the 7-day upcoming full reset program that I've been running for like 8 years now, I would love to have you. It's gonna be a really great way to reset, your habits, to learn how to switch from one season to another, and also to jumpstart your healthy eating habits, because we're gonna eat like super healthy, super yummy, easy to make seasonal foods. You'll get all the recipes. And then it's a great way to release some excess weight. I always put these cleanses or resets or detoxes, whatever you want to call them. They're not severe or anything like that. You can, I always time them during the waning moon, and I will talk about that a little bit later. So Stacy says, do you stop drinking smoothies in fall, winter? Sometimes I crave them in cooler seasons, but I feel icky. Oh, you are so right. So I posted a picture a couple of days ago when it was still warm of a mango smoothie. And I wrote, this is my last summer smoothie. I agree with you. I had it, and today it was kind of warm inside, but as soon as the clouds came, I started to feel chilly. And when you drink those summer smoothies, the mango and the berries and all those, summer fruits, I feel icky too. The body is always signaling. So if you like the texture of the smoothie, what I would recommend, and we have these smoothies in the reset program. Let me see. We have a pear ginger smoothie, and then we have an apple smoothie, and then the really yummy one is the pumpkin. The pumpkin, if you like anything pumpkin, you will love that smoothie. And what I recommend is that you use spices and herbs in the smoothies that are warming, like the pear ginger smoothie. The ginger will be warming. You can also use cinnamon, right? Clove and nutmeg. This will be my 5th time doing this cleanse. Oh my God, 5 years, that's amazing. Yes, I had someone who's done every single one up till I think this spring, over the years. And her name is Pat, and Pat always said to me that, Chilla, I've been doing all your resets every year, and I still find out new things about my body, and I still learn new things from you. So even if you've done this, it's a great way to kind of do that jump start and reset. Hi, Adita. So, okay. So why do we want to do a detox, a cleanse, on a reset? Love your pumpkin smoothie. I look forward to that pear one. Yes, warming herbs are really good. So what happens, so why should we do some kind of a reset? Some people do fasting, like I was talking with a good friend of mine in Florida, and she, you know, there's a lot of stress going on right now. Some people were asking me, why are you timing this cleanse next week when it's election week, right? Well, there's a lot of stress, and often when life is stressful, people do some fasts, right? I personally always feel that when my diet is very, very clean, like there's nothing processed, there's no dairy, no sugar, no wheat, no caffeine, no chocolate, none of that stuff, your brain functions extremely well. You see very clearly, that foggy brain goes away, and it's just a wonderful way to re-energize yourself. I actually timed it based on the moon. When you do a reset, a cleanse, a jumpstart, when you just focus on eating very, very well, very nutritious food, very nourishing foods, rich in vitamin and minerals, and you do it during the waning moon, it's easier. It's somehow you don't crave as much food, you don't need to eat as much, so you can eat much lighter. It's gonna be vegan, so you're not gonna have any animal protein, unless you have some blood sugar issues or you're diabetic, then I will give you personal recommendations. So, and the waning moon helps kind of pull that, the energy of the waning moon is helps letting go of excess weight, which many people want. And then it's also just a great way to do the reset. Perfect timing with all the stress. Yes, and you know what? Oh, you just gave me chills, because I had another friend who worked with me as a private client a couple years ago. And she was also doing the reset with me. And her life was so stressful those couple months when we were working together, like really, really stressful. So much happening in her life. And she was able to do the cleanse. And later she called me up and she said, I just want to let you know that I was nervous about doing something like this because the stress was through the roof, but it actually helped me. She focused on it, and she was surprised too that she was able to do it, and it helped her through that really stressful period of time. So don't let the stress stop you from joining us. So it's a really good idea, once or twice, ideally 4 times whenever the seasons change, to do a little pause. When you eating less food, but most importantly simple foods, like when you're just focusing on a couple of things, you eat a lot of soups, warm stews, soups, some fall salads, and a couple of different things, like we're gonna have herbal, like nourishing broth, a mineral broth, but you can do chicken broth too if you want, some herbal teas. And when you do this, what you're truly doing is you're giving your digestive system a huge break. So 2 things in life take a lot of energy. One is sex, believe it or not, and the other one is digesting. Digesting food is lots of energy from the body. So if you are wondering what you can do to have more energy, this is like the best thing for you to do. Join us next week. The material will go out as soon as today, and then I do a kickoff call for participants on Thursday in the Facebook group, and then you'll have enough time to do the shopping. And then ideally you would prepare like on a Saturday. You can start Sunday or Monday, whatever works for you, and then we'll do it together. So not only we do it during the waning moon, we're doing it together. So when you do something together, it kind of like supports you and it helps you. We'll check in the Facebook. You get daily emails, and it's much easier to do something like this when you're part of a group. So giving your body a huge rest. Number 2 is releasing unwanted weight, releasing toxins. And it also helps, believe it or not, it helps letting go of stuff in your life. Like I have people who tell me that by the end of this program, they started decluttering their home, letting go of extra clothing and just stuff that's been laying around. So it's beneficial in many areas. Hi, Laura and Marianne. Let me see. I don't want to talk too long. So I'm going to talk about the foods that are really ideal to eat at this time of the year. But before I do that, let me share that this is really a time for anyone to to slow down, to turn within, to pay more attention to their daily habits, right? And also to support the lungs and the large intestines. Actually, there are three organs in the fall. It's your lungs, your large intestines, and your skin. So if you have a lot of respiratory issues, right? A lot of congestion, if you have digestive issues, if you have skin problems, this is gonna be really ideal for you. Also, if you want to prevent breast cancer, right? If you're working on your hormonal health, the spring cleanse and the winter and this fall cleanse are very much ideal for you. Fall is the time when you kind of start to slow down, right? This is when we're retreating. This is the time when we are savoring the abundance of fruits and vegetables that are available. And we are supporting the elimination from the lungs, right? It's a huge detox organ with your skin and the large intestines. By supporting these organs, you're gonna tap into your innate ability to re-inspire and renew yourself and your immunity for the winter months. So if immunity is crucial to you, it's important to you, this will be really, really good for you. So the large intestine, let me talk a little bit about that, or the colon. It's a major organ of elimination and detoxification, but it's a key organ in the fall. Just think about it. The leaves are, the trees are releasing their leaves. The days are getting shorter and we moving into the darkness. And we can also kind of sink into the bowels, right? Does that make sense? Makes a lot of sense to me. So the colon has a significant role in digestion and in your overall ability to thrive. Its essential function is often overlooked. It is the last place when your body is able to absorb water, and also this is where the minerals and the vitamins get absorbed. When your intestines is healthy, it's well populated with friendly bacteria. A lot of people are put on antibiotics, and that's one way you can depopulate the good bacteria. Another one is when you are constantly stressed. Like I was speaking with someone a couple of days ago, and she told me that her digestion became so, her digestion is so off that she's literally unable to eat most foods. So I started asking questions, and I was asking her like, okay, so tell me, when this all started? Is it from last year, this year? And she said kind of started when this whole virus thing started. So it was in March. And then when we dug deeper, I found out that she was so scared and fearful, all the scenarios in her head about what could possibly happen to herself, her grandparents, her child, that she literally, with all that stress, affected the health of her stomach and her intestines. So stress alone can mess up this delicate balance of the good and the bad bacteria. And there's also other things like constantly swimming or taking chlorinated showers. You know, chlorine is really bad for the gut bacteria. So if you have a child who swims a lot, you know, you gotta really make sure that you are repopulating the good bacteria in their gut. So the large intestine, a healthy intestine, is well populated with friendly bacteria, and this friendly bacteria acts as a gatekeeper, right? They allow us to let the nutrients pass into your bloodstream, while at the same time letting go of the toxins and other unneeded rubbish that is going, you know, that you get rid of through your stools. When your colon is not healthy, this weeding out cannot happen. So here's another thing. A lot of people who are constantly constipated, right? First, they might notice that they have a lot of, like, they have really dark circles under the eyes. And when you go constipated, and constipated means if you cannot have a healthy bowel movement every day, you are constipated. And I know that many doctors, when you see your doctor and you tell them, well, doctor, you know, I can't go and can't have a bowel movement every day. I have it every 2 days or 3 days. Often they say, oh, you know, they don't like, no, this is not good. you need to have at least one bowel movement, but ideally 2-3 times, right? Every time you had a good meal. So when people are constantly constipated, then, for example, the toxins are recirculating in the body. The estrogen will recirculate in your body, and you can end up with colon cancer or breast cancer. So you got to really pay attention to the health of your colon and do something about it, right? Why we tend to focus more keenly on what we put into our body and what comes out, the elimination of undigested particles and other elements we take through our food, water, and environment is just as important as the digestion and assimilation of our meals. So not only, okay, I'm digesting the meals, but also does your colon, does your skin eliminate, does your respiratory system eliminate the toxins? Like, I'm not gonna go into, I could do a whole class on environmental toxins just from the inside of your home, right? Those also are, need to be eliminated. And a lot of people, these elimination channels are completely clogged. So the lung energy, right? Let's talk a little bit about the lungs. The lung energy is outwardly expressed through your skin. So if you have skin issues, that could mean a lot of different things. When you have a healthy lung energy outwardly, it will show up as soft, subtle skin and also hair that's shiny and lustrous. If you have very dull and dry skin, then it means that your lungs are in disharmony. Everything is connected, always. One of the most important things this season is to stay hydrated and lubricated. I mentioned earlier, if you just joined, hi Chris, this season lubrication is key. So it's not just lubricating, I mentioned earlier that you're eating more fattier foods and nuts and seeds, they're gonna lubricate your organs, but also you need to stay hydrated, right? Let me have a sip of water. You also want to choose foods that are sour tasting, because sour tasting promotes constrictions of the lungs, and also it will resolve the emotion of sadness. The lungs are connected to the emotion sadness, okay? So when people grieve, right, it can affect their lungs. So sadness, lungs. From the colon, we obviously release the waste from the food we eat. From the lungs, we release the waste that we breathe in. Your lungs are the one organ in our body that interacts with both the inside and the outside of the world. It's your sinuses that serve as the gatekeeper for your lungs, protecting them from bacteria, viruses, pollen, and dust, and a lot more. So when you have an impaired lung, or sinus activity that shows up as a lot of allergies, bronchitis, asthma, and sinusitis, right? But less frequently, less transparent signs of a malfunctioning lung is problems with circulation, extreme perspiration. At night, you get a lot of sweatiness. If you have fatigue, or if you have skin disturbances. So your lung not functioning well can show up as eczema, cracked lips and nails, also rashes, and even psoriasis. So lungs, intestines, skin, all connected. So do you guys get a really itchy lower leg? Like as soon as fall comes, right? Even if it might be sunny out there, I notice that I start to feel dried out, and I notice that my lower leg, the shins, get really dry. Like I have to put like a nice lavender lotion or coconut oil in it. So the itchy skin, right? That's a reminder to moisturize, drink more water, also to get out warmer clothes. Take a deep breath, right? I teach Kundalini Yoga, and the health of the lung affects so many things. So take deep breath and pay attention to the lung health. I mentioned earlier that death begins on the colon, and that was said by Dr. Bernard Jensen, and they often call him the father of colonics. And remember this: small poops, large hospitals, okay? So please start working on your bowel movements. When I was a child, guys, I was very constipated. Like, I remember that I didn't want to go to the bathroom. I would hold it in, and it was always like really, sorry, but you know, when you work with a health coach, nutritionist, you talk poop. It's very important. So you know, I was very constipated. I was a picky eater. I ate horribly. Seriously, I asked my mother. My father said, if he would have known that I ended up teaching people how to eat healthy, he would be laughing in his grave now. You know, he passed away before I became a health coach. But anyway, so your poop, the frequency and the consistency of your bowel movements is really, really important. Did you guys know that gut health begins at birth? How many of you know that the way you were birthed by your mother, that affected your gut health? So if you were born by vaginal birth, you are luckier. If you had a cesarean section, or you had your babies via cesarean, or you were a cesarean baby, you were not getting the good protective bacteria. Hi, Yurgita. Thank you. So when the digestive system immediately fills with trillions of bacteria, enough to outnumber the cells in your own body by 10 to 1, you can thank your mother for that. Majority of them were passed along as you came out of the birth canal. So vaginal birth is always good. And this is so interesting. So when I work with private clients, and you know, I take a long health history, and then often they tell me that I ask them, how, you know, what kind of birth did you have? And if they had a cesarean birth, we can trace their health issues back to childhood, because if they never got that good protective healthy bacteria, they might have been sickly even as a child. So I thought that was important to share. A lot of children and young adults struggle with gut health because the typical American diet, right? It's very low in fiber, very high in sugar, very high in processed foods. And that is why early on the digestive system gets completely knocked out. And then all kinds of health issues begin, right? Not just immune system problem, not just screen problems, but the health of your gut also affects the health of your brain. So if your children have ADD, attention deficit disorder, they can't focus, please work on healing their digestive tract. Flood their bodies with the right foods, you know, probiotic rich foods. If they need the probiotics, you know, these are very, very important. If you eat clean, but you overuse medication like anti-inflammatories, antibiotics, birth control pill, right? Or acid blocking drugs, they all damage the gut and they will affect your normal digestive function negatively. Antibiotics are notorious for disrupting the gut bacteria. Many years ago, about 13 years ago, I had to go to the hospital, and they kept me in, and they pumped intravenous antibiotics into me 3 days. And I didn't buy the really expensive probiotics that I was recommended because I was cheap. That's the honest truth. And 3 months later, guys, I had a super stressful week. It was like the week of Thanksgiving. And I ended up with a horrific rash. Started on my feet, covered my whole body. I couldn't function. It was the worst thing ever happened to my life. And it affected my gut health, right? It was the antibiotic treatment. And then 3 months later, I didn't take care of myself. 3 months later, it came out as a rash. And my health has never been the same since. So if you have to go on antibiotics, if you really have to, make sure that you are taking probiotics opposite time when you take the antibiotic, right? So, okay, let's see what else I wanted to share. So the holidays are coming up, and a lot of us are indulging in all kinds of foods, and this is really a good time to prepare for that season and also prepare your body for the winter season. This is the time to pull your energy inward and gather your reserves for the colder months ahead. This is really a time to focus on family and home and kind of get your body into a shape where you can welcome all the changes, right? And now I'm smiling because it's the changes in the weather, but also all the other changes that we have in our world right now. And talking about the situation we have in the world right now, if you want to be able to stay grounded, keep your level, keep your brain functioning well, keep yourself grounded, keep your cool, support your family and everyone around you, you need to take care of the way you eat, because what we become what we eat. It's such a true saying, right? Whatever you put in your mouth, it will affect how you feel, how you think, your energy, everything. This is like the biggest thing that I used to share at my live workshops, which I haven't had in a long time, but thank God for Facebook, we can do it this way, is that when you change the way you eat, everything changes. A long time ago, I put food into my mouth and I never thought about how it's gonna affect me. I just ate it. Yeah, maybe I thought about gaining weight, right? Or maybe being a little sluggish, but I never gave it another thought. But then when I changed how I ate, I realized that my whole world changed. I had more energy, I was more joyous, I could see things clearly, opportunities, that I maybe didn't notice before, all of a sudden were in front of me. It's just an amazing shift that happens for you when you change your diet. And I'm not saying 100% all the time, maybe 85% of the time you eat very healthy, very clean, local, seasonal, really wholesome, healthy food. And then other times, special occasions, holidays, travel, you can eat whatever you want. Some of us can do that, some of us can't. So you just find that delicate balance. And I guarantee that your whole life is going to change. Okay, so let's talk about the best autumn foods, the best fall foods. Root vegetables, right? So when I was in nutrition school, we had one speaker who had a fantastic lecture, and it was all about the energetics of food. I still has his book, and it was really eye-opening. So in the fall, the root veggies, right? If you go to my garden right now, I have carrots and I have beets and we have potatoes, right? There's also sweet potatoes, there's turnips, there's parsnips. Root veggies are in right now. So if you think about the root vegetables, like I have a daikon radish here, right? Look at this, really big. So root vegetables go down and under. They grow like this. So they're very grounding. So whenever you feel like, up here, then you focus on eating the root veggies, right? They will ground you. Also, a lot of the root vegetables are very sweet. So I'm very sensitive to sugar. When I worked with my own health coach 15 years ago, we figured out I'm sensitive to sugar. So as I was letting go of the processed sugar containing foods, I learned to eat root vegetables and also squashes. This is a squash. This is from the garden. This is from our garden. I have a lot of these butternut squash. So, and when you're eating the squashes and the root vegetables, especially if you're roasting them and you're adding these sweet spices, nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, right? That satisfies your sweet cravings. On the contrary, I just have a baby bok choy here. I didn't have time to run to the garden, but I wanted to also show you guys. So this is bok choy, but if I would have a collard leaf here, which I really should have run and get it. Collard is really big and it's kind of similar to this. If you think about, the collard and you see that in front of you, what organ does that remind you of? It reminds us of the lungs, right? So root vegetables grow down and under, so they're grounding, and the leafy greens grow up and out. And they look like the collard looks like the lung. So what they do is they lift your spirit. And remember, I mentioned that the emotion that's connected to the lungs is grieving and grief and sadness. So if you are experiencing a lot of grief and sadness and depression, focus on adding more leafy greens to your diet. And there's a lot of great ways to do that. You don't have to eat raw kale salad. You can, this I'm gonna put in miso soup tonight. I'm gonna make some healing miso soup, which is very easy to make. You can make, you can make kale salad. There's a way to make it so it's delicious, but a lot of people can't digest it. So just put it in your soups and stews, or make like a nice side dish with the kale. I have one called kale with pine nuts and raisins. It's delicious. So the 7-day cleanse have a lot of these awesome seasonal recipes in them. Like there's a miso soup in there, and definitely anything with kale and collard and Swiss chard. So the root veggies is also includes garlic and onion, right? Burdock, and then the above ground squashes, winter squash, acorn squash, pumpkin, and butternut squash. These are top foods for this season, right? And then the sturdy greens that are, we have beets, the beet tops you can eat, we have collards, and we have kale. So those go into the colder season. Actually, the colder the weather is, the sweeter the kale becomes. So the sturdy greens are really good at this time of the year. Spinach, kale, turnips, green onion, I have chives. You can also eat broccoli and cabbage. Those are all wonderful. Cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, all those are called the cruciferous vegetables. They are great for preventing cancer. They pull the excess estrogen out. So if you're worried about colon cancer or breast cancer, you want to focus a lot on those cruciferous vegetables. And then, as I mentioned earlier, right, the squirrel is collecting all the nuts. So dry, energy-rich nuts and seeds, including walnuts, pecans, sunflower seeds. These are really good at this time of the year. Again, you want to lubricate the intestines, you want to lubricate the organs, and to keep them from going super dry as we move into the cold weather, because the reactive mucosa will harbor bacteria, and that will bring your immune system down. And then let's talk about the fruits. Of course, there are the apples, the cranberries, the pomegranates, and the pears. Here's a good tip for you guys that you can practice right away if you have some pears at home. Pears are amazing for moisturizing the lung. And if you have a lot of respiratory issues and sinus issues, you want to keep this area lubricated. So eat a lot of pears. And another tip, one of the good fats that I recommend start using is ghee, Ghee, which is clarified butter, and it's a great cleanser for the colon, right? The intestines, it's very, very good. So cook with it. And then you can also take a little bit of ghee and put your pinky in your container that you save the ghee in it, and then, hi Bridget, and then you can moisturize your nostrils. But you can do that with also with coconut oil. And I actually make a really special nose moisturizing concoction with something that's called rose ointment, and I put some powerful essential oils in it. So I'm doing two things at the same time. I'm moisturizing the nostrils, so it's nice and moist, so the bacteria cannot get harbored. And with those specific oils that I'm using in that little cream, I'm also protecting, this area from all the nasty things that are in the air from chemtrails and whatever is in the environment, right? The environmental pollutants. And I'm also supporting the immune system. So apples are one of the best fruits to eat this time of the year. I've been eating apples. Just make sure when you buy apples, please buy them organic. And it looks like even the organic apples have a lot of wax on them. So peel the apples, because that wax doesn't come off and you don't want to get sick from it. So apples contain, the if you can find apples from somewhere where it comes from the tree and it's organic and there's no wax on it, that's what you want. There's pectin in the apples that's really good. And here's a little tip that I will practice during this 7-day fall reset program, is that if you cook up one apple that you cube with a little bit of water and a couple of pieces of clove, real clove or dried clove, and then you just eat it before you have your breakfast, this will be an amazing intestinal cleanser. It will, just cleanse your intestines and support your health. So apples are wonderful. And again, pears really great for the lungs. And there's Asian pears. If you have a lot of coughing, Asian pears are really good for that. So you want to focus on sour foods, sour flavored foods. So sauerkraut, olives, pickles. There's something called umeboshi plum, which is really great, just a little bit of it. And you can use lemons and limes. If you're not vegan, vegetarian, animal foods, fish, chicken, beef, lamb, and venison, and you can also do a little bit of eggs. This is not the cleanse, this is in general, right? So I mentioned green leafy vegetables. I mentioned the root vegetables, the squashes. Let's talk a little bit about beets. Beets are amazing. They are fantastic for cleansing your blood, and they are a great source of folate, vitamin C, copper, and manganese. And it also have something in them called betaine. And if you want to have like a really nice detox drink, you can take a beet and you can juice it. I like to mix it either with an apple or a carrot. And they are great raw, in a juice, or cooked. You can also boil them, and I like to roast them. And you can also do like a fermented pickle, so fermented beets. So there's many ways to eat the beets. Here's a little tip before I finish, a couple more things and I finish. Beets, for some of us, they color your urine or your stool. So if you have had beets and the next day you go to the bathroom and you look, and I'm hoping you always check your stools, your bowel movements, because your bowel movements tell what's going on with your health. If you happen to see like redness, do not worry. It is not blood. Don't freak out. It's the beets. If you have that, not everyone has the urine doesn't change for everyone. If you have that, that means that your stomach acids are kind of weak. I'm an A blood type. Our stomach acid is never strong as other blood types. So then you want to work on strengthening your stomach acid, right? So pomegranates are really, really good. I love them for strengthening the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is everywhere in the body. And I didn't bring in my little brush, but during each cleanse, I teach everyone to do dry skin brushing properly, which is one of the best things for your immune system and for overall health and well-being and the health of your skin. So dry skin brushing. And the pomegranates are very nutritionally packed, and they are very good for the lymphatic system. Lemons are great for any detox, and I highly recommend starting your day with hot water and lemon this season. Cabbage, I mentioned cabbage earlier. It's very good for your colon, your liver. It's cruciferous vegetable, and this is a great one to make shredded salad with. You can also cook it, or you can make kimchi or sauerkraut. Again, probiotic rich foods are crucial right now, and it's very easy to make probiotic rich sauerkraut, right? I grew up on sauerkraut, so that's something that I really enjoy, but you can also buy it. Make sure if you buy sauerkraut at the store, it comes from the fridge in a jar, right? Usually it's in a jar, and it's properly fermented. That's what will give you the good bacteria. Another one that I wanted to mention is mung beans. These are the mung beans. They pretty green. And mung beans, it's been used by Ayurvedic doctors for thousands of years. I like to use these during my cleanses because it's extremely easy to digest. It's easy to cook, and it absorbs the toxic residue on the sides of the intestinal walls. So some people actually might just choose to do 3 days of eating, like a mung bean stew. And that's all they eat for 3 days, and that can be also very healing. And then we already talked about apples. Apples contain vitamin C. They help maintain the body's natural physical barriers to fight infection and flush out invaders. When I was a kid, I ate an apple every single day. My friends at school was always joking. She always has an apple. She always has an apple in her hand. Yeah, usually I eat like 2 apples. And my daughter just said to me that she has an apple every day too. So let's talk a little bit about this 7-day revitalized 7-day full reset or cleanse. So I started to call these programs resets because some people thought that if it's called a cleanse or a detox, then they have to worry about running to the bathroom and it's going to be severe. No, this is none of that. This is just 7 days of eating very clean, very easy to prepare, delicious seasonal foods. We begin November 1st because that's when the waning moon the moon is starting to wane. I explained earlier, if you just joined, why that's important. And this is how it works. Once you enroll, my website is shininghealth.com, and you go to shininghealth.com, and then you'll see full reset, full cleanse, and you just click on that. All the info is there. There's an early bird special, so if you click on that, then I will send you an email with all the material. You're gonna get a recipe guide. You're gonna get cleanse boosters where you learn about the dry skin brushing and a couple different things. And then also a guidebook. So you get 3 documents via email. Then I invite you to our Facebook group. And then during this week, what we do is this is when you're gonna consciously start to reduce your caffeine intake. And if you need help, you just write to me and I help you. So if you drink a lot of coffee, you just let go of the afternoon one, maybe switch to green tea, and then you can try a couple other coffee substitute that might work for you. And then so by the time Monday or Sunday morning comes, you can just let go of the coffee. And I know some people go like, oh my God, I can't let go of my coffee. Coffee is caffeine. Coffee is not giving you true energy. It's actually fake energy. So people who are accustomed to drinking a lot of coffee, some people do well with coffee and they need it, but the majority don't. You will feel 100 times better once you come off of it. And I just want you to experience how that feels, the real energy, right? And then you're gonna reduce the sugar intake, the dairy, the wheat. We're also gonna take out peanuts, corn, and soy, and alcohol, because there's these 7 foods that are, a lot of people have sensitivity to them, and they might never know it. But once you do like 7-10 days of not eating these, and then you start slowly putting them back into your diet, you might have some big aha moments, right? My big aha moment was when I realized that eating wheat, like flour, sugar, and dairy together was like, it created, like I fell into a deep depression when I was eating those foods. And as soon as I cut them out of my diet, I might be able to make something like a dessert, but I'm avoiding white sugar, I'm avoiding wheat, and still feel good. But if I would eat those things, not only I'd be like double the size of me now, but I would also be probably on depression medications because that's how it affected me. Other people tell me that food sensitivities come out on them as rashes on their skin. It could be extremely bloated belly or gasiness. Some people have extreme fatigue. Other people have really bad foggy brain. Some people like clearing their throat all the time, right? Or big circles under their eyes. I mean, everybody has these things come out differently. And this goes back again to the health of your gut. When your digestive system is not working well, when you have leaky gut, that's when these foods can cause these food sensitivities. So for you to heal from these First, you need to eliminate these foods, then work on healing the gut, and then later on, you can probably reintroduce these things. The problem with the wheat, this is just a little side note, in this country is the glyphosate. They spray a lot of Roundup, weed killer, on the wheat. I have a feeling that is why I have the issue I have, because when I go home or when I'm in Europe and I eat good quality bread there, I don't have an issue. So go figure. So I'm looking at the recipes. So you're gonna get the recipes, and there is a sample menu. So I'm gonna read day one to you, so you have an idea how it looks like. People always wanna see like, how does this look like? So you're gonna get like 30 some pages of recipes. I have a suggested menu plan, and you can follow that to a T, or you can just look at the recipes and play and make it work for you and your family. By the way, most family members end up eating the same food with you. So for example, day two, you can start the morning with a pear ginger smoothie, but again, you will see at the beginning if that's enough for you. For a lot of people, that's not enough, and I have suggestions for other breakfasts. And then mid-morning snack, you can have an avocado with sauerkraut, or you can have a cup of the magic mineral broth. And then lunch is roasted butternut and coconut soup, and roasted cauliflower with chickpeas and almonds over a bed of greens. So that's like a soup and salad. And then you can have a snack in the afternoon. And for dinner, this is the khichdi, which is a one-pot dish with the mung beans. So this could be one day. Another day could be, a quinoa breakfast cereal. And then for lunch, a lentil salad with a tahini dressing. And then dinner is magical mineral broth with roasted veggies and sesame seeds. The main thing is that you will not be hungry. You can have as much you want, and you can have more meals. If you need to eat several meals, you can also do that. Basically, what the focus will be on is seasonal fruits and vegetables, lots of warming soups, lots of like herbal teas, and everything is again based on those fruits and vegetables that I mentioned. We even have dessert. Let me go to the end. Just a second. There's teas, there's golden milk, all these healing things. Yes, so there's baked pears with ginger and cardamom, which is really yummy. And there's also baked apples and sweet potato custard. So there's even desserts. So, any questions? Hi, Anna Marie. So that is 7-day full reset starting on November 1st. Okay, so who is this for? So if you are struggling with energy, right? If you are struggling with fatigue energy, if you have trouble sleeping, if you have all kinds of skin issues, if you want to improve your digestive system, if you have bloating, gassiness, you just feel that every time you eat, the food is not being broken down, the way it needs to. This is for you if you want to prevent cancer of the colon and the breast, right? If you have a lot of respiratory issues, congestion, seasonal allergies, sinus infections, this would be great for you. If you want to let go of the brain fog, if you wonder if you have any food sensitivities and you want to figure out, or simply if you feel you are in a rut, you eating the same foods, you have no idea about seasonal eating, and you just want some help, then this is also great for you. So I don't have, let me see, I can look at the time here, because when I use my phone, I don't see what time it is. So probably I've been speaking for an hour now, and I'm going to stop. If you have any questions, please write in, because I can see your questions. It's 6:11, and I started a little bit after 5. So yes, I feel my throat is dried out, and I need to make dinner. I'm gonna make miso soup. Yes, okay, so people always say, oh, Chilla, do I need to go to like a lot of stores? You can probably, if you shop, like I shop at Wegmans, you can almost buy everything at Wegmans, probably even at a ShopRite if you're in New Jersey. You might have to go to maybe a health food store for a couple things, right? But again, when you do this, you can just look at the recipes and you can mark the ones that feel easy to you and familiar. Miso is a fermented soybean paste, but I like to buy the one that's made from fermented aduki beans. It's just very good for the gut flora. It helps with probiotics. If you've never seen ghee, Ghee, you can go and get that at the health food store. But most stores now have, all these nuts and seeds. We try to have organic because, we don't want to eat the pesticides. And I don't know, anything else? What do you guys think is important? I'm gonna look in my notes. I just closed my laptop here. Let's see. So for breakfast, you have options of a smoothie, a quinoa bowl, stewed apples, a really yummy grain-free breakfast cereal, which my daughter makes a big batch often and takes it to college. So again, it's not just, other family members will be able to enjoy. You can make pumpkin chia pudding or apple chia pudding. And you can always have leftovers from a soup or a stew for breakfast. Like when the weather is cold, I do much better with leftovers for breakfast. And there's some really good, there's an almond dipping sauce recipe that is out of this world. There's roasted beet hummus and pumpkin hummus. Those things you can make ahead of time and just keep it in the fridge and cut up some vegetables and you can use them as a dip, or you can put it on top of your salad. There's a really easy meal. It's like a Buddha bowl. Do you guys know what a Buddha bowl is? When you make rice and then you put, cooked veggies, some raw veggies. You can do a little arugula and then just have a really nice dressing that you make. I have a lot of dressings here, and you can just drizzle it on top. You can put a little kimchi or sauerkraut. Those are really nice. The magical mineral broth, that is an amazing broth recipe, full of minerals, so good for your skin, for your lungs, your intestines, just for immune system. It's a famous recipe. It's not my recipe. So you have that, and miso soup. There's a detox soup. My favorite is the ginger carrot soup. It's so good. And there's a carrot fennel soup. I didn't bring the fennel up. I roasted some fennels earlier this week. Fennel and daikon are great for weight loss. Anybody wants to lose weight, guys, get some daikon, and I'm gonna finish it. Get some daikon. Daikon is great for two things. It dissolves fat, right? So it helps you release that excess weight, and it's also great for dissolving tumors. So they use this a lot in macrobiotic cooking, and the fennel is also have similar qualities. Fennel is great for digestion too. You can shred this with carrots and beets and cabbage and make a good salad, like a slaw. You can also just slice it up. The other day I was at my friend's house and she made the pumpkin hummus. It was so good, and then she just sliced this up, and then I was just dunking, the pumpkin hummus with this. It's a radish basically. And if anyone here has a lot of sinus congestions, always have this at home because it will break up the sinus congestion amazingly. Like I had a long time ago when I started my nutrition practice, I did a workshop at this yoga studio, and someone said to me, oh my God, I'm so stuffed up, I'm really struggling. I said, hey, grab some daikon radish on your way back and use it. And she called me up the next day and she says, I can't believe it worked. Like I just was eating this and the next morning I woke up and my sinuses were all clear. So food is medicine, remember that. Your kitchen can be one of the best medicine cabinets. I like to call it your nourishing kitchen, and I look forward to supporting you guys next week. So shininghealth.com, everything's there, and you can please feel free to send me a message here. If you're watching it on Facebook, I'm happy to answer. And if you are watching this because you had a link, my website is Cilla, CSILLA, at shininghealth.com. CSILLA at shininghealth.com. You're welcome. So yes, thank you, Laura, and I look forward. I'm sending everything out this evening, okay? So watch your mailbox for the material. Those of you who already registered, there's a nice group of women, and I can't wait to support you guys. Bye, everyone.